Hello there, it's Loren. Hope you're doing great, having a fantastic week. It's another beautiful Friday morning here at Tanglewood. I'm excited, actually. I'll share with you the news. Unable to connect to chat. Shoot. I hate when this happens because I can't see your comments and therefore don't know how to respond. So give me just a minute. I will be right back. What I'm going to do is grab my laptop so I can see messages here. Okay, hang on a second. It'll take me a minute to set that up. Okay, I'm back. Give me just a moment. I'm going to set up the second computer here. I don't know if I can easily change from one to the other, so I'll stay where I am. But I will go ahead and log in here too. Means I'll be looking down to get my messages, but I guess that's okay. Hang on here. Lots of stuff coming up. Let me just open a new window. Okay, so I hope you're doing great. I started to tell you I'm excited because we, after more than 2 years of waiting to close on a refinance here, we finally got that done. We got good news. When everything happened with the virus, tourism is a significant industry segment here in Costa Rica. And a lot of people, not just tourism, but a lot of people, of course, are affected by this whole thing. And so the banks started offering people time, basically 3 months, no payments, no mortgage payments. And I'm not sure if other loans are affected too. We paid everything off with the refinance.
All right, so we have a very...
The only loan I have was the new mortgage, and they were giving people 3 months to pay it off. 3 months to not make any payments. And then what they were doing is taking the other, let's say it was a 20-year loan, so there's 240 payments, making the other 200 and, wherever somebody was in their process, taking those 3 payments and wrapping them into the payments later on, dividing them by the number of payments and increasing and that's what they were doing. They told us that's what was going to happen, and then later said, "Where's your payment?" And we said, "Well, we thought we had this deal." They said, "Oh, no, it doesn't apply to you because it's a brand new mortgage." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Why doesn't it apply to us? We're in the same position as everyone else, having trouble with the income." And so we've been waiting, but they finally said, "Okay, you're approved and don't have to make payments until August." So that helps a little bit. We have another month. Then we have to start making these payments. That does help us a little bit because things have been more than a little challenging. Anyway, that wasn't what I was going to share, but that mortgage allowed us to buy the farm next door, which we've had under contract now for 3 years, and we're just waiting for the financing to be able to do that. That financing finally came through a couple of months ago. We bought that piece. I've been so busy here. I've actually been over there once since buying it, and I took a group, all the volunteers over there, and we hiked around, and it's a beautiful piece of land. It's big, 11 hectares. We're on 4 here. There's 11 there. So that piece is almost 3 times bigger than this piece. We didn't even see the whole thing. Just this morning, I spent an hour plus over there with my foreman and a couple of workers, and we started laying out the first couple of swales. Swales are permaculture. It's a permaculture technique. And what it is it's a way to capture water as it's running down a hill. No surfaces are completely flat, so there's always something of a slope. We have quite a bit of slope around here. We're up in the mountains, and things are pretty quebrada, as they say here, as they say in Spanish. And so we started laying those out, and that allows us to capture the water so it doesn't run into the stream and run off the land. Within 5 minutes, 96% of the water that hits the surface is in the stream and leaving the property. We want to keep it in the land. And so the swale, it's a ditch where all the points are at the same elevation. The water comes in, soaks into the ground. We then plant a line of fruit trees on the bottom side, and the water soaks in, and the trees have access to tons of water. And theoretically, once everything's established, they should be perfectly fine through the dry season. Now, we do lose a few trees. I mean, especially if we're planting things late in the rainy season, where they haven't had, all the months of rain, they may not be very well established. And then if we can't water everything, we're going to have some issues. So we do have that going on every year. We're going to lose some every year anyway. It's just the nature of it. But okay, so let me go ahead and respond to comments here. I see there's already a super chat. Looks like just one. And Mary, I'll come to you in just a moment. I'm just going to say hello to a few people. I see there were several people waiting, so thank you, Bob. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Boris, glad to hear from you from Serbia. I'm actually working with someone right now in Belgrade. Boris, we speak every day, and she is, I think today's her 11th day, if I remember correctly, day 11. I'll speak to her as soon as this is over. That's what happens at 10 o'clock. That's why this has to end on time. But at 10 o'clock, I'll speak with her, and she is fasting with me right now. Yeah, I'm glad. It's great that you've got plenty of fruit this time of year. I know not so abundant in the wintertime. And frankly, and I hope you'll forgive me for this, but I've been to in Serbia, I think 4 or 5 times to speak. I've spoken in Belgrade, in Novi Sad. We did a weekend once at a hotel somewhere outside of Belgrade in the countryside. It was beautiful. We had good quality fruit. It was always in the summertime, and the fruit was good. But maybe a little better here in Costa Rica. It's hard to say. It's hard to compete with the fruit we have here. But I'm glad you're here. Good to see you. Do you think humans are monogamous or polygamous by nature? Well, it's a good question. I'm not sure that it's one or the other, because polygamy is a very specific type of relationship. I don't know what our nature is. I know that being who we are, we all grew up with emotional stuff. And for most people, I know very few people who can successfully manage a polygamous relationship where they're involved with multiple people, physically loving relationships with multiple people at the same time. I think it's a fine idea. In practice, I think, for instance, it would be difficult for me. So I prefer monogamous relationships. If I'm going to be completely transparent, which I will always be, my ideal would be that I can be with anybody I want to, but my partner can only be with me. And that's obviously my own insecurities and jealousy, not wanting, having it be challenging for me to the thought of her being with somebody else. I realize that's something I could overcome. I'm just not sure that I will in this lifetime. And so because I recognize that this is true, that I would have trouble, I think if my partner was sleeping with somebody else, I'm very willing to limit myself to being only with one person. And for me, that works perfectly well. My experience is it works best for most people. I know many people who've tried polygamous relationships. Very few have actually made that work long-term for them. By the way, I think what you do is priceless. Do work itself, Fasting Center, and the information you're sharing. Thank you so much, Boris. I appreciate that very much. Peter says, hey, Loren, do non-organic watermelons have a lot of pesticides? And are they just outside or inside as well? I'm sorry, are they just outside or inside as well? Okay, pesticides are always inside. Where pesticides are sprayed, if pesticides are sprayed on any plant as the fruit is developing, before it's fully developed, there will be, and even if it's fully developed, because there are nutrients coming in. I mean, I guess if it's fully developed, I mean, that's when, if you don't pick it, it's going to rot, right? But up until that point, as the fruit is forming, nutrients are coming from the plant into the fruit. And so if you are spraying the plant, some of those pesticides are going to wind up in the fruit. Pesticides are always inside as well. Watermelons are one of the fruits that require very little pesticide and so are relatively safe to use. Should be no problem. Okay, they're relatively safe, and obviously everything's best organic. But if you can't get them organic, it's not so bad. They're better than a lot of other things. Dragon Gamer Kid, when I fast, I start to throw up on day 4. If I want to avoid this, should I be 100% raw for 4 weeks? It likely would help. It depends on why you're throwing up. There's various reasons why that happens, but certainly keeping your diet as clean as possible beforehand would be very useful. It would also be useful, and you probably knew I was going to say this, to have experienced guidance to actually see what's happening. Are you getting enough water? Are you getting too much water? You really have to understand the whole process in order to A, keep it as safe as possible, and B, make it as successful as possible. Okay? But I mean, there's no reason you can't get past this. You just have to really understand what you're doing. Certainly, keeping your diet clean would be good. Hello, Terry. Good to see you. Slat. I have no idea what that means. JJRU. I have no idea, but slat. Okay. Radost says yes. Better to be on. Okay, that's him responding. Eric Francis. How common is it you've seen people feel paralyzed during a fast? It's not common. People rarely feel paralyzed during a fast. It has happened a few times. We've seen no serious issues from it, but it's something that happens very, very infrequently. J multiple 7G says good morning to you. And JJRU said the YouTuber I told you about is on day 13 now of his fast. Yeah, and who is that? I don't think you told me who that is. I'd be interested to know. You can put that here if you want somewhere in the feed. He's doing great. Doing great's a relative thing. Most people feel like they're doing great if they feel okay. But sometimes they feel okay because they're not doing what they need to and they're not getting the benefits. If your body's not really cleansing or healing, you might feel really, really good. The purpose is not to feel really good during the fast, but to empower your body to cleanse and heal as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So the fact that someone feels good on their fast doesn't actually mean anything. Okay, I mean, it's not really a significant fact. Judy Osborne says, good morning, Loren. Great to see you. Thank you. Nice to be seen. I'm glad you're here, Judy, and hope you're doing well. Sue Simmons says, good morning from Austin. Hello, Sue. Michael Kyle says, top of the morning, Kyle's Villalobos, sending love. Thank you for these weekly chats. I look forward to them. I do too. I'm glad you're here. Sumesh sends, I can't see what that is. It doesn't look like a happy face. It's something. Okay. Dakini Woman says, thank you for all your wisdom, Loren. You are very welcome. Thank you for your kind comments. I would hope that after nearly 60 years on the planet, there'd be some wisdom. I suppose that's not always the case. But one of the things that's true, and I have detractors who would probably argue with this, but I approach everything scientifically, which means without a particular perspective. I mean, obviously, I have what I believe is the optimal diet, but I'm completely open to seeing information. And if I come across something that refutes that, I'll look at that very carefully. I've never found anything that actually holds water in terms of improving on water-only fasting as the best way to cleanse and heal the body, and a fruit-based, simple raw vegan diet is the best way to nourish the body before and after the fasting. Okay, let's see. Wild Cherry Moon 2. Good morning from Dana in Kentucky. Thank you for sharing your time and wisdom. Thank you so much, Dana. I appreciate your kind comments. I'm glad you're here. Love your name, by the way, Wild Cherry Moon 2. I guess that means there's a Wild Cherry Moon 1 somewhere. Zebub says, how dangerous is a junk food meal for someone who regularly eats junk food versus for someone that's eaten optimally for a long time? Well, that's an interesting question. How dangerous is it? Let me start off by saying it's that I think what you're asking me, I think perhaps what's triggering the question, for someone who eats really clean, eats optimally, and then eats a junk food meal, there's likely to be a reaction to that. Now, that in no way suggests that it's more dangerous for that person. The reason there's a reaction isn't because the body's in more danger. but rather because that cleaner body, that body that's healthier and more vibrant because of a normally better diet, is better able to respond the way a healthy body would respond. So the body that's used to a clean diet is going to eliminate toxins much more rapidly than someone who eats McDonald's every day, eats McDonald's and feels fine. It's not safe for them. Okay. So this example I just gave you reminds me, if you haven't seen it, of a documentary made 20, maybe 30 years ago called Supersize Me. American Morgan Spurlock decided he was going to eat only McDonald's for 30 days and document the process. And it was interesting because at the start of the process, he went to a doctor, a nutritionist, I think a physical trainer, and I think there might have been one more professional. I don't remember what their designation was, but he went to 3 or 4 professionals and said, "What do you think of this?" And then he consulted with them throughout the process every week, for 4 weeks. And at the beginning, they all said things like, "Yeah, it'll be fine. Your triglycerides may go up a little bit, your cholesterol will go up a little bit, but no big deal, nothing to worry about." 2 weeks into the process, each of these professionals was begging him to stop the process so that he didn't die. Okay? Now, he wasn't used to it, but the point is, again, being used to something doesn't make it safer. It just makes your body unable to react, to respond the way a healthy body should. And so certainly, if anything, that person who eats that crap every day is closer to a heart attack or stroke or colon cancer. And so perhaps more dangerous, right? The guy eating McDonald's every day, he's very, very close to being in serious trouble every single day. You may recall, well, if you're from the US, you might be aware, I think it was Arizona, had a restaurant called the Heart Attack Grill in Phoenix, if I remember correctly. Their spokesman was this big obese guy, and they'd show him, eating, shoving these ribs and steaks into his face. And a few years, I think he was their spokesman for 2 or 3 years, and then he died of a heart attack. Okay, so eating that way all the time didn't protect him. It doesn't protect anyone. It just makes the body unable to respond very well, so you may not realize you're in trouble. In a clean, well-functioning system, you eat crap, your body says, "That's crap, I want to get rid of it." There's a reaction, and you're reminded, "Oh, that's why I don't do that." I've had that experience on several occasions. I've been eating the way I eat now for nearly 29 years. But over those 29 years, there have been times where I said, "I think I'll try eating some of that," whatever that is. And each time it's been something not in my program, my body says, "Bad idea." Okay? It's easily noticeable because my body's clean enough to respond the way that a healthy body should to anything that doesn't belong. Okay? So I hope that's clear. That's a little more time than I intended to spend on that, but I hope that's clear to you. And then we have another question here by J Multi7G. I'm not sure if you've seen any of my past questions and been able to answer them, but I was curious to know if an extended water fast such as yours would help heal the body of constant edema. Well, so it's a great question. Thank you. By the way, if there's enough super chats, I don't read the questions. I don't have time to go back and look at these, unfortunately. So where there's super chats, I'm focused on the super chats. And I've got 2 now that I'm going to come to as soon as I'm done this question. So if you've asked another question and the super chats keep coming in, I may not see it. I apologize. I'm just super, super busy. So you're not going to cure edema. Let me clarify, okay? So edema is the body holding excess water to protect you from something. It's an intelligent response by a body that wants to protect itself from something that doesn't belong. So if you're living on fruit and salad and go eat a bunch of potato chips, you're going to have edema, most likely, because your body's going to protect itself from salt, okay? In fact, at least twice a year for the last 20 years, I get an email from someone saying, "What the hell? I I've been 2, 3, 4 weeks off my fast, whatever it is, and this morning I woke up with a lot of edema. What's going on? And my response is usually, what did you eat that had salt in it? And they'll write back and say, how did you know? Because that's what happens. If you put salt in salt is toxic to the body. Okay, remember, we need organic sodium. How do we get organic sodium? We eat plants. That's where we get our minerals, from eating plants. We don't get our minerals from eating crystals of salt. Okay, it's an inorganic mineral. Our body doesn't really use that very well. And when it comes into the body, it wants to protect itself, and it does that by holding water to protect you from the salt. Okay, and so this is what causes edema. So fasting will allow you to eliminate the edema. And if you fast long enough, you should be in good shape. If you fast long enough and properly, right, it should be done with guidance. But if you go back and make poor choices afterwards, you'll have edema, as have all these other people. So you're not curing anything. It's like it's a permanent fix. It's a way to eliminate the symptoms. You're actually eliminating the cause of the problem. But if you go back and re-cause the problem, you're going to re-experience the same symptom. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so Mary Eisenberg has made a $5 contribution. Thank you, Mary, so much. And she has said, everyone who's grateful for Loren, I challenge you, send $5. Mary, I love you. I love you. I love the challenge. Folks, I know some of you, first of all, let me say, no one has any obligation to do anything. Okay, this is free. It's here for you. However, I know some of you, like us here, are challenged right now because maybe you're not working. Maybe your business is also sitting idle right now. Here in Costa Rica, a lot of people are saying that, maybe 40 or more % of the hotels in Costa Rica won't be able to reopen ever, after a few months of having no one there. Okay, virtually no one. A lot of businesses are shut down. I've seen several empty locations over the last couple weeks. Places that were there are gone now because they can't. Almost no. In Costa Rica, we're not locked down. Never have been. There's always been a curfew, and it started at 7 p.m. and now it's 10 p.m. In some areas, I heard last night, in some areas where there's more cases, there's now a 5 p.m. curfew. You have to be off the street, but you still have all day to go do what you need to. You can go. This last weekend we couldn't be out Saturday or Sunday. That's the only lockdown we've had. But people are still circulating and doing what they need to. So anyway, bottom line there is businesses are suffering. I don't know what your situation is. I know for some of you, there are people here in places where $5 is a lot of money. But let me say this. There are many of you here that are here every week and I think are benefiting from these, and I hope you are. If you're able to make a contribution, Mary has challenged you. Everyone who is grateful for Loren, I challenge you, send $5. So I'll just repeat that. If you're grateful for these lives and can send $5, why not? It would help us. It might be nothing to you, but it makes a difference. Right now we have 73 people on here. If everyone sent $5, that'd be $365. That helps us quite a bit. Again, $5 for each one of you may be nothing, but it certainly helps us. Okay, so please consider that. Please do, because this is the nature of this thing, right? This is what allows me to keep being here. Anyway, thank you so much, Mary. I very much appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to jump down here to John Simpson, who has made a $20 Canadian donation. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that very much. And John says, just want to say thanks for all of your videos and the time you spent with us. You are very, very welcome. I truly appreciate that. I truly appreciate it. And this is another way. I don't expect John or anyone to send $20 every week. But, maybe every once in a while you did something like that. That'd be useful. Again, I feel kind of bad because I'm here. It is free. If you want to take advantage of that, you can always do that. That's perfectly fine. Fatma, though, has taken up your challenge, Mary, and made a $5 donation and said, keep it up. And that's it. And Veronica Kyles has made a $19.99 donation. I love that, Veronica. $19.99. And said, love you. And Veronica, I love you too. The truth is I love all of you. I really do. I mean, I'm here. I'm doing what I'm doing because I believe we need to be sharing this information with as many people as possible. It's so sad. Maybe you've experienced this. I'll share it tonight. I've shared this in a video, but I'll share some things with you that have shown up in my life. Shauna Wilcock has also made a 1999 donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much, both of you, all three of you that just donated. I mean, everyone, right? But I appreciate this so much. It's so sad to see people suffering and dying. I mean, and even just going through life not feeling as vibrant as possible, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I jump out of bed every day and I feel amazing. And I know a lot of people, not at 59, but a lot of people at 29 get out of bed feeling miserable every day, whether it's edema or it's problems with the digestive tract, or it's headaches, or it's blood pressure, or something more serious. I mean, I'm working right now with a guy in his late 40s who has stage 4 cancer. Okay, we've seen people. We had a client this year who died of stage 4 cancer. He kept fighting it, but he kept going back and making poor choices. And so, if people really, really got this and really had the emotional poise to take care of themselves, I mean, folks, this is about loving yourself enough to give yourself what's going to serve you, what's going to feed you, what's going to make you feel and function better than ever. If you really love yourself, wouldn't you make the best choices on a consistent basis? Now, so there are people who know, but maybe don't have that self-love and keep making poor choices anyway. And there are many people, probably many more people, who, if they sat in for a little while, or read something I wrote or heard me talk about optimal diet, would say, you're crazy. You can't live on fruit. It's got too much sugar. You don't have enough protein, blah, blah, blah. All the nonsense that people have picked up from living, on the planet up until now, with all the disinformation, misinformation, and disinformation out there. Disinformation by the meat and dairy industries who want you to believe you need a lot of protein. And you do need a lot of protein if you want to age and die really fast. Okay? I mean, what's absolutely clear is that the less we eat, the better off we are. Okay? Now, I mean, to a point, obviously, you have to meet your body's needs. I'm not suggesting don't eat anything. Okay? I'm not suggesting you try to live on 5 apples a day. I met a woman once who thought she could live on 5 apples a day. An apple's got 40 to 50 calories. So we're talking 200, 250 calories. That's not going to work very well for most people unless they're a foot tall. And she wasn't. She was 5 feet tall, and she was starving herself to death. Okay, she was anorexic. That doesn't work. But, you want to meet your body's needs and not exceed that, because consuming more than that, it's not helping you. It's only helping the people selling you stuff. It's not helping you in any way, not in any way. Okay? You want to be really, really clear about that. Shauna, by the way, said, thank you. Shauna, you are so, so welcome. I'm so glad to be here. JJRU, yeah, it's okay. JJRU is saying, I'm broke, man. Sorry, when I get money, half it's going to you. Don't send me half your money. Please don't send me half your money. Okay? Listen, please don't put yourself in danger. Okay? I'm not suggesting that. Again, I'm suggesting for those people who really are in a position to be able to do something. I mean, there are some interesting ideas about tithing, where you set aside a certain amount. Honestly, I'm not doing that, but I don't have a salary either. I don't actually pay myself. So everything that comes in here goes to our staff, goes to the many expenses to running a business this size, including taxes and insurance and mortgages and Social Security payments and food for the volunteers. I mean, we have quite a few volunteers here right now. There's 6 volunteers here now. And they eat together, 10 times more than I do. A lot of money goes out in food every week. It's not me that's eating it. It's supporting this group. And, we're here as a community. They're supporting what we're doing here. They're helping me with projects. It's amazing. It would be impossible for me to do everything I'm doing without them, right? But I'm just saying, this is where all the money's going. So it's an interesting idea that we give some percentage. It's up to you what it is. Don't give 50% if you're having trouble surviving. Okay, that makes no sense, and I certainly don't expect it, and I don't think anyone does. Okay. Jesse says, my heart shrunk after 5 years raw vegan, mostly fruitarianism. I had a severe B12 deficiency and now am housebound 3 years later with dysfunction of the autonomic nervous system. Okay, Jesse, I'm really, really sorry to hear that. And the fact is that people eating meat are just as many as eating vegetarian or vegan are walking around deficient in B12. And some of those people are also going to experience serious problems. On the other hand, I'm vegan for 35 years and have never taken a B12 supplement. So I want to make sure you don't think that this is the result of eating a vegan or vegetarian diet. It's not. It's the result of being B12 deficient and having a body that's not properly processing it. The B12 we need, many times the B12 we need, is manufactured inside the body every day. So when the body works well, we can get it from inside the body. Okay? So, I tell everyone, I've been telling people for 30 years, if you're afraid, or first of all, if you're deficient, you might want to check, then you need to supplement with B12 temporarily. Ultimately, the key is to get your body functioning well via fasting, so you're able to get what you need from within the body. Okay, but this is something, if you're at all concerned about this, folks, you can have this checked regularly. B12 blood tests aren't that useful. MMA, methylmalonic acid, is better. It works contrary to B12. So if yours is very high, it means your B12 is actually low. Okay, you want to check that out. All right, let's go to the beige guy. I doubt you're actually beige, but the beige guy says, made a $5 contribution and says, you have changed my outlook on health with your info. I live in Maryland, and I know you used to be close by. Costa Rica must be nice. Blessings. I grew up in Bethesda, Maryland, and lived there through high school, wound up coming back after college. I lived in downtown Bethesda, if you know where that is, close to the, half a mile from the metro station. It was like a 10, 12-minute walk to the metro. It was a fantastic location at the time. I was happy. This was suburbs, not urban, although pretty urban. We had a small lot, although it was like paradise, because I put up a big fence, put in tons of plants. You look out one window, there's a beautiful Japanese maple, and there's a big black walnut over here. We had wisteria on two sides, which blocked the views of whatever was around us. It was really like a little garden, a tiny garden paradise. And then a short walk to shops and restaurants and the metro to be anywhere you wanted to. And back then I was still partaking of shops and restaurants and all that stuff. From there, I moved out to, I wound up, after being homeless for a short period of time, I wound up starting Tanglewood. And that was also in Bethesda, in a big house in Kenwood Park, where we could ultimately house 9 guests there. That was there for several years before moving out to just north of Frederick, Maryland, up in the mountains in Western Maryland. And that was spectacular. We had 17 acres on top of a mountain of forest, tons of deer. It was gorgeous up there. We didn't have a lot of fruit growing. We grew melons. We had apple trees. We had wineberry bushes. They're in the raspberry family. They're amazing. We grew some tomatoes and lettuce and some things like that. Not so much fruit. Costa Rica, spectacular. Yeah. Thank you so much, Beige Guy, for the contribution. If you're ready, when you're ready to take your health to the highest level ever, I guarantee it. Come spend 4 or more weeks with us, and you'll be blown away by what happens. Okay, that's what happens virtually every time. All right, it's amazing what goes on there. Let's see. Let me scroll down. I think there was, no, maybe not. Okay, I think that was the last one. It's interesting. Sometimes on top, it looks like there might be a new one because it's not showing that last Beige Guy contribution. So I'm a little confused as to what's going on there. Unless, I'm all the way at the bottom. Okay, so I'm noticing Judy, and Judy's here every week, has been for a long time. I've been doing these now for maybe 3 years. We started on Facebook, moved over to YouTube. Judy says, thank you for understanding for those of us followers living on a very tight budget, not being able to contribute. Of course I do. You're very generous with your time to contact with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Judy. I appreciate the acknowledgement, and I'm really very glad to be able to do this. I mean, if I didn't need money, I would never ask for a contribution. It's always helpful because for those of you that are able to contribute, once we're back up and running okay here, once people are allowed to come into the country, we're hoping this happens as of next Tuesday or Wednesday, the 1st of July. The borders are supposed to open. It's midnight on the 30th of June. But they're talking about limiting who can come in now, limiting people from countries with more cases of people. And of course, a place like the US where they're dramatically boosting the numbers artificially, right? It's all nonsense, right? And Brazil, you hear about what happened. I think I mentioned this on Wednesday. In Brazil, the hospital claimed to have 5,000 sick people. It was empty. 200 deaths. The coffins were empty. They opened them up. Empty. Okay. This is what's going on around the world. You cannot believe the numbers. Unfortunately, Costa Rica believes the numbers, and that means it might be still difficult for some people to get to us. But when we get to that point, we've got this giant project that we're creating where there'll be a massive nature preserve. We need to preserve nature, folks. We need to do this, and we need to help people understand why that's important. And so this project, I think, is going to be really powerful. I'm going to do a live soon, maybe next week, where I'm going to talk just about that. It probably won't be the Friday. Maybe I'll do another Wednesday morning thing or maybe Wednesday after. I'm not sure, but I'm going to do one just talking about the project again and really getting into that. I'm not going to take questions on anything else. It's an amazing, amazing project. It's still going to be helpful to have your contributions because that project is going to require millions of dollars. And we're going to have to find that somewhere. We don't have it here. We don't make it here. It's going to have to come from somewhere else. So I was going to share with you the story I mentioned to you. Seeing people. Oh, there's another $10 donation from Power Drummer 53, and Power Drummer 53 is another one who is contributing virtually every week. Power Drummer, thank you so much. I can't. I really, really appreciate that. Okay, for those of you who are showing up, those of you that are able to, that are showing up. Thanks again for doing these live Q&A sessions. You're very, very welcome. I really am glad to be here. And you know what? I'm just noticing there's 20 minutes left, so I won't share the story. I mean, I was just going to tell you about what happened to my dad. I'll tell the story another time, perhaps the start of one of these. In the meantime, I'll go back and try to respond to some of the questions. Let me scroll back up because I think I skipped over quite a few of them earlier. Let me see here. Where were we? Okay, I think I got down that far. Don't have a card. Dragon Gamer Kid, no problem. Baracus. And I also know that there are some people here that aren't able to access Super Chat in certain countries. It's like silly because this has been going on for 2 months. 2 months ago, Guzel, who organizes my videos for me, set up what's it called? The platform where you can support people. And she's, you said to me, you just need to complete this last part. I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to get to it. I mean, it's usually 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night before I'm going to bed, responding to questions and comments from people. And answering emails, and so it's been a little difficult to get to all of this. Anyway, I'm going to scroll back down now because we just had some more super chats come in. So let me see here. Jaska Randu. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. Jaska Randu says, how to deal with edema, no fasting possible. Recent got a salt IV drip into blood and vitamin B against will. Must eat 3 meals per day. 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. fruit. Okay, well, what'll happen is, if you continue to take salt, I'm guessing that you were hyponatremic, which means low in salt. That's why they gave you salt in your IV, sodium in the IV. And normally, sodium in the IV is okay, but if you get too much, it's going to cause edema. And the same is going to be true, unfortunately. There are people who, if they're low in salt, they may eat a little bit of salt, etc. It doesn't take, it's only a little bit too much, and you're going to develop edema as a result of it. So unfortunately, I mean, while fasting is by far the most efficient and effective way, you said fasting is not possible. So I'm not sure why that is, but I trust that it's not possible for you right now. If that's the case, you must eat these meals. Keep your diet as clean as you possibly can. And by keeping your diet as clean as possible, your body eventually will be able to flush out the extra sodium. When the extra sodium is gone and your body's able to get rid of that, the edema disappears. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever heard of the story. I mean, and by the way, it doesn't have to be a long fast. It has to be properly done. But I had a client once who came in with he had gout. So gout it's a form of edema, but it's a specific situation where the body is holding one of the byproducts of protein metabolism, uric acid. Uric acid is a crystalline form. So it's holding uric acid crystals, which are painful. And what the body wants to do is protect itself by storing water, creating edema, so that the crystals aren't so painful, aren't poking you so much. Is what's happening. Usually starts in your toe. In his case, it had worked all the way up his foot, his leg, all the way to his crotch. Okay, filled with water. He fasted with me for a week, and he'd been on diuretics. I mean, he's got this going on. His doctor, who again is what does medicine do? It treats symptoms. So his doctor gave him diuretics to eliminate the excess water, not understanding that his virtually infinitely intelligent body was holding this water on purpose. Okay, there's no point in getting rid of it. The body wanted it. Why are we trying to fight the body? When it didn't work, they doubled the prescription for diuretics. When that didn't work, they doubled it again. So he's taking super high levels of diuretics, which are harmful and toxic to the body, like all medication. He got very, very sick. And this might have been part of he had lots of issues, lots of problems. In fact, he was actually referred to me by his doctor because he was about to die. They literally told him he had weeks to live. And I got him through a fast, and I don't actually know whatever happened to him. I know that he was alive 6 months later when he was told he originally had no more than 2 or 3 weeks to live. Maybe it was 6 weeks to live. I apologize. This was more than 20 years ago this happened. So the details are a little bit fuzzy now. But what was interesting was diuretics, doubled again. They weren't budging the edema. 3-4 days of fasting, gone. His body was able to flush out the sodium, and he spent like the 4th day of his fast, the entire day, peeing out all the excess water. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, so that's going to be the best way. The best thing you can do if you can't fast is to simply keep your diet as clean as you possibly can. Okay, that's going to be the way to do it. All right, what happened? I guess I moved it too much. Let me go back here. Okay, and Kothapali. I'm sorry if I'm murdering your name. Says love. Arun Kothapali says, love from India. Thanks for encouraging me to take responsibility of my health. Coronavirus scam cannot fear me. I have the ability to take ownership. Good for you. And that you're so right. This is exactly what it's about, folks. It's being willing to take responsibility. Understanding. I mean, yesterday. So here, most people can't afford cars. A lot of people drive little motorcycles, but it's really common for people to walk. And and they don't actually hold out their thumb, but they're looking at you expectantly, hoping for a ride. And if I have space, when I came back from the farmer's market yesterday, there was no space for anyone. The car was completely full with produce. 60 papayas and a dozen pineapples. Again, I've got 6 volunteers here, and 10 kilos of mangoes, and I don't know, a bunch of bananas, as well as some banana plants and some more coconut palms, little baby things to plant because we have this land that we're planting, etc., and many, many more things, avocados, etc. But on the way there was a young man walking down the road, and so I stopped and picked him up and drove him into town. And he was wearing a mask, walking down the road by himself with a mask on. I mean, I don't mean in town. I mean on a country road where there's nobody else around for miles. This is how scared people are. Okay, he's not an idiot, but he believes what they're telling him. Like, you need to protect yourself by wearing a mask. He gets in my car with a mask on, and I don't know. He probably wondered why I didn't have one. He said something about the whole thing. I have more cases now, and I said, yeah, I said, look, all you have to do is take care of yourself. Now, he doesn't know what that means. People here don't understand unless they've listened to me about this, and then they may not believe me in most cases, except the people working here are all eating a lot more fruit and salad because they've seen what happens. My average employee has been here for 5+ years, and they can see that you can stay completely healthy and fit with very little effort and never get sick if you're willing to make the best choices. But Arun, thank you so much. I didn't mention it, but it's a 100, I'm guessing that's rupees. I don't recognize the symbol, but because you're in India, I'm guessing that's Indian rupees. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. And we have another one here. This is Philippe Meyer Luters. And Meyer Luters, that sounds German. But I'm guessing, I don't have to guess. It's a 5,000 Costa Rican colone contribution. So you're here somewhere, and there are many young Germans here in Costa Rica. I've had some German friends who were here working permaculture, living on fruit here in this amazing paradise. Philippe says, thank you for all you're doing. Could you recommend some device to measure the body hydration efficiently? Thank you. We use what was at the time we bought it, I don't know now, the top of the line, it's a Japanese company. We use a bioimpedance scale made by a Japanese company. The name escapes me right now. It was their top of the line consumer model. At the time we bought it was $500. I don't know if they still sell it, but I'm sure, they're changing models all the time. They have many models. I would say you want to spend at least $100 if you want to have a device like this. Now, you don't necessarily need to do this. I mean, one of the things you can easily do is get your blood pressure tested. You can buy a blood pressure monitor, but you probably don't need to do it regularly. But get your blood pressure tested and send me the numbers, and I'll tell you whether you're hydrated or not just from your blood pressure, okay? I mean, I can tell you if you're not hydrated. I can't tell you if you are. And if that sounds funny, your blood pressure is going to tell me, if I know your blood pressure and pulse and your temperature too, and these should be taken resting, what they'll tell me is whether you have enough blood or not. Your body is constantly retiring blood cells. 2 million per minute are being retired, according to science. In order to replace them, there has to be enough raw materials, primarily water, because they're mostly water. If there's not enough water available in the body, then your blood volume is going to decrease, and that only happens if you're not fully hydrated. If you're fully hydrated, your body will take the water from somewhere less important to make enough blood. So if your blood volume is too low, it means you're dehydrated. If your blood volume is perfect, it could be that you're dehydrated but have drank enough water, have had enough water over the previous X number of hours or day, 24 hours. So that's one way to do it. That would help. That would be a good start. And if you want to send me those numbers, I'll be glad to tell you what's likely going on. Okay, with some information. I can see from your picture you look like you're a young guy, but get me some information about your age, height, weight, and these blood pressure, pulse, and temperature resting numbers at early in the morning. Like you wake up, you pee, you go rest for 30 minutes, and then take your numbers, and I can tell you whether your blood volume is where it should be or not. Okay, very few people are fully hydrated. Very, very few people. But you probably don't need a device to measure this regularly. What you need, honestly, the only way to get hydrated, in my experience with thousands of people, is to get the body clean with fasting and then make make optimal choices. Don't have to be perfect, but make optimal choices, right? On a consistent basis, high water content foods, simple green salads, until you get all the garbage out. It's going to be impossible, I think. Very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get hydrated until you've done that. Once you get the garbage out, then it's no problem. It's just a matter of time. You keep making excellent choices, you'll get there. Okay, I hope that helps. Shannon Brintley, who I know contributed just a couple of days ago, says, hello again, Loren. Can you give us your list of essential leafy greens and other foods to prepare an optimal simple salad? Also, your ideal simple dressing. Love you, sir, and keep up the amazing work. Thank you so much for your kind comments. I'd be glad to share with you. We still have about 10 minutes. So first of all, optimal leafy greens for me is pretty much going to be lettuce and not too many other things. There are some others, but I'm having trouble remembering like anything in particular that you might have access to. The problem is leafy greens that are dense, like all the cruciferous vegetables, kale, collard greens, cabbage. These things are high in complex carbohydrates. These are starches that are very difficult to digest unless they're cooked. If you cook them, you destroy nutrients and create toxins. If you eat them raw, you're having a difficult time digesting them and getting the nutrients. Even if they're loaded with nutrients, you're not getting them. And so I don't eat them. Okay, you're also getting things that are actually anti-nutrients. There are goitrogenic compounds in cruciferous vegetables, which are harmful to the thyroid. Taken in significant, sufficient quantity, you'll actually damage your thyroid. So be careful if you're eating those things. I personally don't eat them. I mean, every once in a while, I suppose, if I go to a raw vegan restaurant, they're almost always kale salads, I'll eat one. But here, we don't have kale. I mean, we don't. Well, someone planted some. We have a little bit here growing now. But we're just growing various forms of lettuce. And there's around 30 different varieties of lettuce in the world. So how many you can find where you are depends on where you are, what's available. But you can probably get seeds and grow them all, at least in the summertime, if not year round, depending on where you live. Here in Costa Rica, Costa Rica is actually too warm to grow lettuce very, very easily. So you have to grow them in shade, etc. It's not optimal. But in most places, you can grow lettuce over about 4 months or so, maybe a little longer with a cold frame. You can look that up. Cold frame allows you to start seeds earlier, get things going in the ground by creating a little tiny miniature greenhouse over the food. That's one way to do it. Okay. So green salad, for me, optimal green salad is going to be lettuce, whatever form you like, whatever variety you like. For me, there's always tomatoes. I know some people are concerned about tomatoes because they're nightshade. You don't have to be. I mean, there are some people that are very sensitive to the chemicals in nightshades, but tomatoes contain so little of those chemicals that, except for the very sensitive, they're no problem. I love tomatoes. You can easily make meals of them. Not a lot of calories. They're very low in calories, but they're so good. It'd be no problem eating meals of fresh tomatoes, and I feel perfectly well when I eat them. If you do too, there's no harm in eating them. I'll occasionally include some red, yellow, or orange pepper, never green pepper, never ever green pepper. They're unripe. I like cucumbers. Cucumbers are technically melons, and so really don't digest that well with other things, but I have absolutely no trouble digesting them with lettuce, tomatoes, and avocados. And so I'll usually use some cucumber. In fact, what I like to do is use one of these spiral slicers and cut them into strings. So it's like a little bit of noodles in there. I love the consistency. Cucumbers, I don't use zucchini very much. I don't really use it at all. I mean, every once in a while, I might eat some if I'm in a restaurant or something, which happens when I travel. But here, it's always cucumber. Much easier to digest for me, and I like them much better. And then there'll be an avocado in my salad. And there might be one more ingredient. I mean, usually for me, it's 5 ingredients, maybe 6 maximum. If you're getting started and your system is having any issues, you might want to keep your salads even simpler than that. Keep it to 3, 4 ingredients maximum. For me, it would probably be lettuce, tomato, avocado would be the simplest salad. Now, I typically don't dress my salads. For me, having some ripe avocado in there mixed in is all I need to do. I love it. It feels great. I don't need anything other than that. But for those of you who aren't used to that yet, you might feel like you need to have a dressing. If you want a dressing, what I'll do is I'll blend up for it. I keep dressing super simple, super, super simple. I had a girlfriend who lived with me for a couple of years, and she loved prepared stuff. It would take her an hour to make a salad dressing. It takes me like 2 minutes because I'll take, a piece of papaya, put it in the blender, maybe a little bit of lime juice. That's it. Done. Okay. For our guests, we'll take tomatoes, blend them up. That's it. We'll take some pineapple, blend it up. That's it. Done. We'll take papaya. We'll take mango, blend it up, and that's it. That's it's one ingredient. That's all there is. Just mango blended up, and it's really good. I mean, it tastes delicious. There a little bit of a compromise, but almost every salad dressing is going to be a bit of a compromise. I certainly wouldn't recommend using vinegar or oil. Any prepared, bottled salad dressing is pretty much not going to be very healthy. So this would be the way to do it, and it's really, really simple, okay? There are more complex things you can do, but I typically don't do that myself. All right, let me see. I've screwed it up. There are a lot more comments here. Where were we? Okay, so that was Shannon. Okay, so Josh Grandu has made an additional £5 donation. I'm not sure if I said that earlier. I guess it was pounds, and said how much water to drink. I'm doing 2 liters per day and about 1,600 calories, mostly fruit. They did force me to drink 200 milliliters of celery juice every day, plus B vitamin for 10 days. Well, again, if you're low in sodium, celery juice is not a bad solution because celery is relatively high. It's probably the highest plant in sodium, and it's better to get it that way. I mean, you probably need to concentrate a little bit if you're low, but it's relatively safe compared to eating salt, right? Much better to drink celery juice than eat salt. So that's not a bad way to do it. How much water you need, though, I can't say without knowing much more, okay? And you want to be careful because if you had an electrolyte problem, if you drink too fast, you're going to create an issue or recreate the problem. So for most people probably need 3 to 4 liters a day, but you have to sip water slowly, always. No more than 500 milliliters. For the Americans, that's 16 ounces, is about 500 milliliters per day, per hour, not per day, per hour. Okay, that's the maximum I want you to drink, but sip slowly over the course of the hour like this. Just a little tiny bit at a time, that's all. Drip feed yourself over the course of the day that way. Okay, so you're never taking a lot at one time, because if you were to drink, here's a half a glass gone, let's call it. If we drank that half a glass at one time, what would happen is you would be in that moment, in those, in that 30 seconds that you were drinking, or 10 seconds you're drinking, whatever it is, you're taking water in much faster than your kidneys can process it in that moment. And that means you're going to lose some electrolytes. If you keep doing that, I mean, that's how you wound up being sodium deficient. I don't know. But just drink slowly. How much you need, I can only tell by looking at vital signs every day. And that's what happens when people fast. To give them the right amount of water, we have to properly interpret their daily vital signs, something that doctors don't learn how to do, not this way. They don't understand the blood pressure and pulse with regard to hydration. They don't understand that. They've never learned that. It's something that's out. And I know that because I fasted 10 doctors, 3 of them twice, and none of them knew anything about this. Okay, so that's what's necessary. I can't tell you more without knowing what your numbers are. I'm down to very little time, and I see we just got a couple more super chats. Let me scroll on down so I can respond to these folks. I see lots of comments here. I apologize, folks. May not have a chance to respond to all of them. I probably won't. Let me see. I think that's the first one here. Maisha, who is a friend and client who will be, I think, working with me again starting in just a few days. We're going to get started. Maisha has made a £9.99 contribution and said, "Hi, Loren, happy Friday. See, I told you everyone is interested in your salads. Yep, glad I can make the last few minutes of this. Looking forward to our next coaching session." Yeah, I think we're on for Monday again. Isn't that right? I think I'll see you then. Now, Misha is smart, and she understands that in order for her to consistently make the best choices, it's much easier when she knows she's going to report to me. And we're looking at what's going on. And so lately, we've been speaking every week. You may want to do the same thing. I mean, the people who are most successful, especially if you're having trouble on your own, again, if you're in a position to be able to afford it, not everyone is, you might want to consider having coaching. It's, coaches. I was a wrestler, a bad one, I should say, but I was a pretty good swimmer. I played water polo. I played soccer and baseball badly as a kid. Swimming was always my number one sport. And there was always a coach who knew more than I did, right? Even maybe they didn't swim as well as I did, but they knew more about how to increase my performance, etc. Coaching is really helpful. The most successful people in life use coaches to help them get them to success. I mean, actors, many of them have acting coaches, singers have voice coaches. These are successful people that still recognize that maybe they can learn something or benefit from having someone else whose primary focus is on guiding people through whatever it is they're hoping to improve on, or be the best at. And so they use coaches to do that. Thank you so much for your contribution, Misha. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Hero Alfonso has made a there's my 10 o'clock call. I've just put her off. I'll call her back in just a minute. Has made a $5 Canadian donation. Says, I have a UTI due to fungal overgrowth. Does fasting help balance fungi bacteria in the body? How many days do you think I should fast for? Yeah, I mean, typically for a UTI, you probably want to fast 21 days. And if these are recurrent, as they are for many people, it's not just simply eliminating the specific fungi. There's a reason that this is happening. The body's out of balance. So honestly, what I would say, Hedo, is you probably need to fast. It's a 4-week process, 21 days fasting, 7 days refeeding. Email me, Loren@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com, and we can discuss if you're open to that. You can definitely improve this and permanently, so they don't keep coming back. But the body's out of balance, and so it's if we just fast long enough to improve the symptom, we're probably going to see a recurrence. Okay, especially if not everything's perfect. But if you actually give the body a chance to heal the underlying issue, then you're good. That's what you really want to do. Okay, and let's see. Mary Eisenberg has made another donation, $10 donation. A listener wants to know if fasting can cure asthma. Yeah, well, yes. I mean, remember, fasting cures nothing. The body is self-healing, though, and we've seen many people eliminate asthma via fasting, or at least get much, much better virtually every time. That's usually at least 21 days fasting as well. Okay, we've seen lots of success with this. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's a search window. You can put in asthma, and I believe there's at least 1 or 2 videos where I talk about this. Okay, so go take a look. Mesha has made another $9.99 donation. P.S. Green is your color, suits your complexion. Thank you. Makes my face look less green. Is that what you mean? Thank you very much. It's funny because this is a color, it's normally brighter than I would normally wear. I have a couple of shirts that are pretty bright. I was visiting a friend. She took me to this amazing old-fashioned general store that had been there for a long time, and they had cool things, and she would go there for their bargains. They would often have these special things. This is bamboo and organic cotton. It's super soft and comfortable, really nice, and it was like $10, where this shirt would normally be like $50. That's why I bought it. I think if it was $50, I never would have bought it. And I probably would have looked for something slightly more subdued color. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I'm late. I've got to go. Thanks, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to those of you who were able to make, are able and made contributions. Mary, thank you so much for the challenge, because I think you spurred a few people, perhaps. And again, folks, I'll look forward to seeing you. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I will be back for sure on Friday morning. I will likely be doing another live on Wednesday next week. I'm thinking about doing a live on the community. It'll be next week or the week after, but there might be another one anyway. So stay tuned. I'll be letting you know as soon as I know for sure. I hope to see you again soon, and I hope you have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Oops, I've got to change my screen here because when that call came in, it moved. There we go. I'm back. Okay, I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.